Ladies and gentlemen, this is Scary Bad Reviews, and this is my intro. So it is October 17th. Still continuing plowing through Monster Madness 2018 for my 31 days of Halloween. Today I went back and rewatched a brand new, relevant to most of the other things that I watched. This movie is brand spanking new. Movie that was released through Netflix back in January of this year, called The Ritual. The movie was originally going to be small scale release in the United Kingdom. Netflix bought out the distribution rights to it, pulled it from theaters, and said, we can get this to a larger audience. And that is an incredibly smart move. Because as we get into this review, you'll understand just how much I loved watching this movie and then rewatching it today. So within the movie, just kind of going over a basic plot synopsis, there are four friends who, after the death of one of their other friends, want to go on a vacation to remember him by, and so they go on his vacation, idea that they never acted upon, and they take this hike in between, I believe it's Norway and Sweden, and so they're going to hike through the woods, they're going to hike over the mountain. This long ass pathway. It'll take a couple days. They'll camp. It'll be all of them together. While they are hiking this trail, going through these forests and everything, they continually end up getting lost, not knowing where they are. Strange things start to happen to them, and it all kind of just goes downhill from there. This movie is... It's very similar to Blair Witch. There are a lot of components that are extremely similar to it. For a while, it plays off of fear of the unknown. I mean, for a majority, like 2/3 of the movie, it plays off of fear of the unknown. And there's a very heavy Blair Witch vibe because of a lot of symbolism and a lot of belief in some form of spirit being in the woods. With the guys' dreams getting messed with when they stay in the cabin, with there being ritualistic idols and symbols all throughout the woods. It definitely feels in a similar vein to Blair Witch. It feels different because Blair Witch focused so heavy on the idea of being found footage and so heavy on the idea of it being an unknown, force, spirit, whatever you want to call it, out in those woods. While this movie takes a completely different approach. This is a high production movie. This is not found footage. This is a movie. The cinematography of the movie is beautiful. You get these great shots, just long shots of this huge forest. You get, with these long and wide shots, you get a really high sense of tension from a lot of these, long stills. Because all it is it's just this still image of this beautiful forest with, some high string, music playing in the background. And it just builds tension. It efficiently builds tension, even though there's nothing going on and you're not at a point in the plot yet where something is going to scare you in a situation like that. It definitely still builds tension up, and it definitely helps ride the wave into the rest of the movie. And some of those long shots are just beautiful. I mean, the forests over in, Europe are amazing, and so it definitely adds into the movie. The forest is a great setting for it, and they definitely play into that with some of the later parts of the plot. The chemistry between the actors is great. They all kind of play into each other, loving each other and hating each other just as much. It really does feel like a group of good friends, like especially a group of four good guy friends, because a lot of people can attest that guys, we usually show our sympathy and affection for each other just by yelling at each other and making fun of each other. And that's definitely played up throughout this movie, and then later it kind of devolves into an actual hatred of each other and blaming on each other for different things happening while they're in the woods and outside of the woods. So they do a good job of showing that. They do a really good job of showing these guys starting to go crazy, and for different outside events as well as things that are happening to them directly inside the woods, influencing their ability to survive and influencing their ability to register what's really happening to them. The acting and the characters themselves is actually one of the few things that I am it's probably the only thing that I'm really going to give this movie a negative on because uh, it is very difficult to get through a majority of the middle of the movie because whoever wrote this movie was just really mad at the world and just let like every other word in this movie during that middle third is just fuck. Like they just continually go back and forth calling each other every single name in the book and just getting so blatantly angry at each other, just cursing and cursing and cursing. And for a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes in that middle section of the movie, that's all it is. Like there's no legitimate dialogue between any of them. There's no legitimate context provided by their dialogue. There's no, depth or emotion built into them. It's just them being mad at each other for being lost and for other things happening in their lives and just cussing at each other for a good solid chunk of the movie. And it is very difficult to get through for a lot of people. I think that kind of plays into them losing their minds and falling into insanity. But I can see where it is difficult to sit through that and listen to that for a long time. The back third of this movie is absolutely incredible, and I do wish that it was longer and more of the movie kind of played into it. But the reveal of the secret society living within the woods, the reveal of the actual monster of the movie, the reveal of why they're a cult is awesome. And let me just tell you that the monster within this movie, I love this thing, man. I mean, it's very difficult within the modern age to create a monster that looks unique and that is blatant. Like you can't compare it to anything. And I found myself when this movie first came out and trying to describe how things go within the movie, I found it insanely difficult to be able to describe this monster in relative terms to other monsters because there really aren't any other monsters that are similar to this thing. It has this disgustingly unnatural silhouette, and the whole thing just looks mangled and pieced together, and it's just wild. I mean, I had never had, I had never been at a loss for words when seeing a movie monster, but once I saw this thing, I really didn't know how to describe it, and I really didn't know how to formulate an opinion about it because it looks so damn good on the movie. I mean, the first time you get its full silhouette, it's menacing, it's haunting, it's incredible. Like, they made just this nasty ass silhouette that you see it compared to the house that's next to it, and you're like, oh shit, this thing is going to rip through anything it wants to. And just in that back third, when you start to get a closer interaction with it, you start to see actually what it is, and you get to see the different pieces of it, the full, body. It just keeps getting better. I mean, it just keeps getting nastier, it keeps getting more unnatural, and it just keeps getting more unique. And it continued to impress me the entire time that you learn more about it. And it continued to impress me now. I mean, I was still hyped seeing this thing really unfold itself and reveal everything about it. Turns out the monster itself is actually a monster from Nordic folklore that is called a Jotun, which is these creatures that are believed to be the bastard children of the god of mischief Loki. And so within the movie, it's supposed to be that this thing fell to earth and landed in this forest, and so it picks people that it can keep immortal. It can keep them from dying, but those people live, a horrible life. They have to sacrifice people to the Jotun. They have to stay within one village and worship it. And so you kind of see that because there are interactions with the people that are within the cult and that live in the village. And that is a very difficult part of the movie to get through, and not in a bad way. It really does get to you. Seeing the way that these people have to live to remain immortal and seeing their dedication to this creature is absolutely absurd. I absolutely love the touch of them showing that yes, they're immortal, but they still age, because he finds the room with all of the basic skeletons, and he starts, he says, okay, well, I need to get rid of this place entirely, and so he starts burning the building down, and the skeletons are not moving, but there's hissing coming out of it, like there's actual human noise coming out of them. as if they were still alive. And so it kind of showed this broken promise from the Jotun that, yeah, I'm going to make you immortal, but you're still going to age, you're still going to deteriorate, and you're not going to enjoy a single minute of it. So I think that this monster it's definitely one of the best monsters I've ever seen in a movie. And I just love it. I love this movie, man. There's so much good stuff in it, and I had so much fun watching it the first time. I had a lot of fun rewatching it. This movie is just extremely well done, and it just came out of nowhere. And anybody who likes folk, like cult type plots in movies, maybe worship type plots in movies, will love this thing. I mean, it's just awesome. Like, I can't get over. It's so hard to make a monster that doesn't look like anything else, because you have to understand Hollywood's been around for, over 100 years. And, the first horror movie came out in 1910, 1911. And so we've created monsters for over 100 years at this point. And so when you've done something for so long, there's very little room to create things that are unique. And that's not me attacking people's creativity or attacking the quality of Hollywood. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at the fact that when someone does create something unique and something individualistic that other people remember, it's quite impressive. I mean, when you have so many different things that come out, how are you able to make a monster that's going to stick in people's heads over the other ones? And a lot of times, horror villains resort to means other than their look to be remembered at first. I mean, there are, of course, certain horror villains that are remembered for their look, and almost all of them have become iconic from their look. But I mean, there has to be elements outside of how they look that help them continue to be iconic and continue to stick into people's minds. But this thing, just that silhouette of it standing in front of the burning building is one of my favorite shots in a movie ever. Just you just kind of feel the fear in the moment of, like, what in God's green earth are we looking at? What are we trying to deal with? Overall, I gave the movie a 9 out of 10. Like I said, I don't like to give 10 out of 10s, and I do think that the really heavily cursed dialogue in the middle does take something away from the plot, maybe a little bit away from the pacing. It builds into the chemistry, surprisingly enough. The chemistry of the actors, it kind of builds into that, but I do think that it takes away from other aspects of the movie. But this movie's absolutely incredible, top to bottom, and I can't recommend this movie enough to anybody who likes horror movies. I mean, this thing, there's not very much wrong with this movie. It's a great movie. Not only is it a fun watch for Halloween, it's an incredible movie. It's an incredible watch. I still have this movie at this point pegged as my #1 movie of the year. Now, granted, the new Halloween comes out tomorrow night, I believe, is the early screenings of it. And there's been a couple others here and there, but I still hold this movie as my movie of the year so far. I mean, I just can't get over how much I enjoyed watching this movie and how much I think that other people should watch it. Alrighty, so that was the review for The Ritual. I will be back tomorrow with a combo review, a doubleheader of the original 1958 The Blob, and another 50s sci-fi huge monster movie, Them. Originally, I had planned to also be doing a doubleheader on Friday. I will be going out of town this weekend, so that will not be happening. I may not be able to provide you guys anything on Saturday either, so I will look to possibly run a doubleheader on Monday and maybe sometime later next week. I really do apologize. But I'm going to get you 31 reviews over this month, and that is a promise that I will keep no matter what. So I will always continue to push myself to be on pace to have my full 31 movies done by the end of this month. If you guys have any suggestions, like I always say, comment, let me know, direct message me on anything that you want to, and thanks for listening.